Welcome to Durbania, I'm Durbin, and I'm going to read way too much into Finding Nemo. With Finding Dory hitting theaters next weekend, I thought, why not? This'll be fun. I'm not going to lie to you. There was so much hype surrounding Finding Nemo when it first came out that I think I saw it on the big screen or I rented it. I don't remember which it was. Please don't get mad at me. I didn't like it. But that was only the first time I saw it. Like way back in 2003 or 4, whenever it was, I saw it on the big screen and rented it. For whatever reason, I didn't like it. So the other night, watched it again, and I enjoyed it way more. Okay, we're good now, right? Because I really did enjoy it a lot better. I don't know, maybe it was all the hype that just made me not like it as much because it didn't live up to that to me. Maybe it was this time because my expectations were more level. I don't know. And as always, it's just the characters that Pixar puts into this, the way they tug at the heartstrings and things like that. Like, I forgot how traumatizing it was when that barracuda, eel, whatever that was, that ate Marlin's wife and ate all the babies except one. That was awful. That was horrific. I mean, yeah, if I was Marlin, I'd probably be scarred for life if a barracuda came and did that. Are you kidding me? Was it a barracuda? Whatever it was scary. And then there he is holding the one little egg, and he's like, oh, it's okay, son. Daddy's here. It's one of those things that, you know, it's supposed to do that. But then, of course, you see him, like, totally living in fear. He becomes this overprotective dad, which I think is completely understandable given the circumstances, but still, you're looking at it, you're like, come on, dude, this is wrong. You gotta let the kid live. Yeah, you went through trauma, but you gotta live, and you gotta let the kid live, and then, of course, as the movie goes through, I forgot, it's not even... The story is compelling, but I think what even takes the story a step further and makes the story more compelling is all the characters we meet along the way. Like that shark guy with the British accent. The shark was awesome, and the Shark's Anonymous thing where they're just not going to eat other fish and they have their little pledge and things like that. Dory. I forgot how great of a character Dory was. Like, I remember... Even though I didn't like it the first time I saw it, there were still things I enjoyed about it. I enjoyed Dory, and Ellen did a great job voicing that fish. Like, it's just... such a great character, forgetting everything, but you see her memory get stronger as she's with Marlin, as she finds somebody that's like a friend again, somebody that, you know, is like home to her again and things like that. You can just see that starts to recharge her memory, and I don't know, it was just kind of cool to watch how Dory helped open up Marlin throughout this movie. You know, he began to have fun as they went through that vortex of bubbles with the turtles. He began to have fun with all these other different things, and so you get to watch him begin to open up a little bit. Sure, he's still scared, but you get to watch him open up. It's just really cool to watch how Marlin and Dory affect each other. And then to see little Nemo as he's in the fish tank with the other fish. And the Willem Dafoe fish. I didn't recognize that was Willem Dafoe at first, but I thought that voice sounded familiar. And I thought that fish looked an awful lot like Willem Dafoe. And I was right. It was Willem Dafoe. Anyway, as that fish tries to get him to swim up into the gears, throw the rock in there and swim out and things like that, trying to help Nemo grow and be like a man, fish man, grown up fish, whatever. I think the thing that really got me is when Nemo was stuck in that little pipe and he's like, no, let the kid try it himself. Wiggle this way, wiggle that way, calm down. You can do this. And kind of giving him that freedom to learn to do it on his own. I don't know why, but that kind of stood out to me. And then it kind of happened again later, where you have Marlin with the turtle, and the little baby turtle goes out of that jet stream, and then he tries to go rescue the baby turtle, and the daddy turtle's like, oh, little dude, let's see what the little dude can do. Ho, ho, ho. And then he gets right back in the jet stream. And, you know, so you're seeing Marlin with his trust issues, and so he's learning to be like, okay, just because they're kids, okay, all right, this is how they're growing, this is how they're learning, and have I really sheltered my son from this? And then there's the son learning from Willem Dafoe, learning from the other fish, learning to be his own man, learning to be his own fish. What's interesting, though, is I'm reading way too much into this, and I was watching the movie for this video. There's really an awful lot there. Like, you have Marlin, who is just, he utterly consumed by fear. And like I said earlier, good reason. I mean, could you not understand that barracuda attack? He's scarred mentally. He's scarred, like, down in his heart. He's scarred. He has a fear of losing everything. So in order to not lose what he has left, his son, he's just going to hold him tight and never, ever let him go. And this is like several really bad things. One, it impairs the kid because now the kid can't go and learn how to be an adult fish. The kid can't go and learn how to live in the ocean. Like, the kid can't do that because he's being held too tight. He's being held too close. He's not able to grow. So that's bad thing number one. And bad thing number two, it's like impacting Marlin. Do you think that guy's living? No, that guy, do you think he's really enjoyed Nemo's childhood up until this point? No, because he's that consumed by fear, constantly afraid something bad is going to happen, constantly afraid the next bad thing is around the corner. But that's no way to live. It's just a prison. And I can only think of one way out of that. And that's when I have this relationship with God, because God says, I'm not giving you that spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. Now, as you go through this movie, you kind of see a lot of those things in action. First off, you see love in action. Love begins to set Marlin free in the same way it begins to set Dory free. Because of their relationship and their friendship. It's not really romantic, it's just a friendship thing, but that's still love there. And how that love begins to set Marlin free, where even when he's on this quest for his son, there's moments where he's laughing. Even jumping through the jellyfish before, Dory gets all stung by the jellyfish. He's laughing. He's playing a game. When they come out of that vortex thing, he's laughing. Like, he has those moments. So it's that relationship and that love that begins to set him free. You'd think power would be a hard thing to find, but there's power in this movie just in the fact that once he sets out to save his son, the miraculous begins to happen. They find sharks that are trying not to eat fish, and it kind of moves them on to the next level. Once they get onto that next level, they make it through the jellyfish. They get in the highway vortex thing with the sea turtles. And so Marlin tells the sea turtle kids all this story. And the kids start spreading the story. And unlike the game of telephone, the story goes out correctly all the way to Sydney, all the way to the bird that has met Nemo in the tank and knows Nemo and knows the situation. And now you got this pelican that is keeping an eye out for Nemo's dad whenever Nemo's dad's gonna get there. I mean, come on. If that's not miraculous and that's not power in there somewhere, are you kidding me? And the sound mind, that one takes a little bit more time for Marlin. It also takes a little bit of time for Nemo, because he's wrestling with the fears that Marlin has instilled in him, until he finds out Marlin is heading towards the bay as the stories make it to Nemo through the bird, and Nemo finally grabs that pebble, jumps into those gears, which scared the ever-living snot out of him, and wedged that thing to make the tank all dirty again. Like, that was a huge moment of overcoming fear. When Nemo gets caught in the net, like when the guy with the little green net's trying to scoop him out to give him to his little daughter and stuff, and all the fish jump in there and they swim down, then they catch him in the bag. But the point is these are moments where Nemo is overcoming fears that he's inherited from his dad, where he's learning to be his own fish. To me, these are examples of a sound mind, or at the very least, a sound mind beginning to form. And the sound mind where that is not being rocked to and fro by this, that, or the other. But it's even harder for Marlin, who has the experience of that scarring from that barracuda. Especially when he's in the whale's mouth with Dory. So when they're hanging on to the whale's taste bud there and he just won't let go, and Dory's like, well, let me just speak whale and ask him what's going on and what he really wants. He's like, you can't speak whale. You can't do all this, Nemo. Boom. Big moment right there where he's like, oh, crud. But then once he has that realization, this other realization of fear comes out, where Dory's like, no, we have to let go. The whale wants us to let go and go to the back of his throat. And Marlin's like, well, how do you know nothing bad will happen? I don't. And Dory just lets go. And Marlin kind of has to learn to let go. It's those moments of like, okay, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen next, but sometimes we do have to take steps of faith. And it was just in that moment as his mind begins to get more and more sound that he lets go. And he's learning these things to let go, learning to have faith over fear, learning to look for the best instead of the worst. And look, as somebody who's dealt with anxiety and fear in my life, that's hard to do. Like, when those walls of fear, and that's just kind of the way the brain has been operating, it's really hard to break those cycles. And so this is what's going on with Marlin. This is what's going on with Nemo. And so they're learning these new things. And so this power, this love, and this sound mind, in the end, is kind of what sets them free. And you get to the end of the movie, they're all happy, and Marlin is letting Nemo go play, go to school, and Marlin's, even if he feels the urge to get on the Stingray and follow them out there, he's not doing it. And he's a much happier guy, laughing with the neighbors and all that stuff, or the other kids' parents or whatever. Like, you can see that this experience changed them, because rather than him letting the bad of this journey affect him, he let the good of it affect him. And that's something else that God says. I don't think God is the author of the bad things in our life. But he does say, you know, for those that love him, when those bad things happen, he makes it all work together for good. In other words, it's like this spiritual jujitsu. And he just takes what was meant to hurt us and flips it on its head and turns it around. And I think that's just an incredible thing. And I feel like you see that in that movie. You see Marlon learning to overcome fear. But you see that all this bad went down. But all of it began to flip on its head. And so Marlon comes out better on the other side. And I feel like in my relationship with God, that's how it's been for me. When things have come into my life that are meant to be bad, because I put my trust in God, he flips it around and the good comes out of it instead. So my second time watching this movie, and probably because I was also doing it for this video, so looking at it at a different lens, I really enjoyed it a lot more than the first time I saw it. And I'm going to give this movie 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite Pixar movie. That space is reserved for The Incredibles. That sequel had better be good. But this movie was really good. Like, I really did enjoy it a whole lot better the second time through watching it. So, if you saw Finding Nemo, how many stars would you give it? Make sure to let me know in the comments. I'm Durbin. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania.